Speaking of new baselines, yesterday we played a clip of Tom Cotton on Wolf Blitzer. Tom Cotton was one of the guys disappointed by Trump's win because he thought he was going to be in 2020. Now I think he's just sort of wants to be one of those guys in the Senate who is basically setting up, right? I mean, we know the baseline now is what Tom Cotton said on Wolf Blitzer yesterday, which is like, well, I don't consider waterboarding torture. And if we got to change some laws to make my opinion comport with the laws, that's what we should do. And if we got to disregard the Geneva Conventions, that's what we got to do. And here was his explanation as to why waterboarding was not torture. I want to remind you, here it is.
But ultimately, I would say that anything that American troops volunteer for, that radio DJs volunteer for, is not torture.
Yeah, radio DJs volunteer for. Let's go check out what that radio DJ said. It was a guy named Mancow. Here he is. Here's a clip of him back in 2009 on Chicago Big 89 radio. Here he is actually getting the waterboard, which he volunteered for, that Tom Cotton is basing his assessment that we should change the laws to say is not torture.
It is over Mancow's head.
We're going to do it on 5, okay?
Okay.
1, 2, I lied.
Ooh, water going. All right, that's it. That's it. All right. Oh, God. Mancow is soaked.
All right, let's go and see. So there he is. He's soaked. He's soaked, ladies and gentlemen. Let's, here he is when he's asked, like, what was your experience with this? Now that he has volunteered to do it, this right-wing, understand, right-wing talk show host.
All that's been done to this country, and I heard about water being dropped on someone's face, and I never considered torture. Even when I was laying there, I thought this is going to be no big deal. I go swimming. It's going to be like being in the tub. It is such an odd feeling to have water poured down your nose and your mouth with your head back. It was instantaneous. I thought I could hold out 30 seconds, 60 seconds. It was instantaneous, and I don't want to say this. I do not want to say this. Absolutely torture.
You do?
Absolutely. I mean, that's drowning.
So you felt like you were going to drown?
When I was a kid, I drowned. I drowned. Yes, my brother. My brother pulled me out of this this pool that I fell in, and I had to be revived. And I remember the feeling, and that it is the feeling of drowning.
That was a flashback to your childhood there.
Worse than that. I mean, it was. Yeah, it was.
You look shaken. You look shaken. Your hands are shaking a bit. I can see your hand shaking, and you're absolutely soaked. Your hair, your shirt, are just completely soaked.
You're soaked.
And your eyes. You look pale.
I thought I could hold out, and it was instantaneous and horrific. And I really, look, I wouldn't have done this if I knew it was going to be this bad. I would not have done it. Marine, thank you.
Cock.
Okay. And when we do that, folks, and when we've done that to people, 182 times, was it?
Yeah, I think with was it Beta? Was it 182? I gotta look. I think it was.
Of course, it's torture. But this is it, folks. Like, this is what we're going to get. Tom Cotton going on TV saying we got to change the laws to legalize torture. That's the new baseline. So when there's an attack, if there's an attack, it's bad enough if it was George Bush's regime starting with this baseline, but now it is a more virulent right-wing movement where a senator, Harvard Law School graduate, is calling for changing the laws to have torture already before anything's happened. And a president, Donald Trump. I'm sorry, the idea of any of it becomes so much more plausible. That's like the there's a lot of things that we've got to do in terms of of resisting and preparing. One is sort of like the normal, horrible politics scenario where we get a repeal of health insurance for millions of people, where we get Medicare privatized, Social Security privatized, where we see the destruction of the EPA, the FDA, of Dodd-Frank, of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You know, worst case scenario in terms of banal politics. And then people also have to maintain in the back of their heads, like, you know, what is the plan? How are we going to react if the country is attacked again? Which was, you know, that was a problem with, even with a President Obama. But Obama would have been at least an obstacle to the worst of the worst, as opposed to an accelerant of the worst of the worst. People should understand that.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Subscribe.